Alright guys, so here we have a Scion, I think it's the SD or XD. You can see just some basic hazing, nothing out of the ordinary. However, we do have some stress cracks directly in the middle, a little bit of micro cracking right here on this little mound. Don't see anything else, any other imperfections, but this side same thing, some stress cracks right here in the middle, coming all the way down, and just very, very tiny ones you can see right here. But what I'll do is just start with I'll just do a 600 on this one, and that'll remove all this oxidation, any little imperfections, and then move on to masking it off and applying the clear coat. So I'm just going to dry it really quick. That way the tape has something to stick to. It's a little bit gloomy day, so this is actually the perfect opportunity for me to use the UV light. It's only on days like this when it's really, really gloomy out. And it's actually pretty cold. It's about 60 degrees right now, so I'm not a big fan of the cold, especially down here in Florida because it is humid out, so the temperatures are a little bit worse. So 60 degrees, you know, some people might not bat an eye at, but when you got that humidity and the wind, it's pretty bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go right around the insert right here of between the headlight and the body panel of the vehicle. Sometimes you can't, but if you can, just kind of slide it in between like this. Sometimes I'll just do the opposite, just slide it in like that, put your finger on there and then fold it up and just follow the crease. This one I quoted the customer probably 20 minutes on this one. These are very, very easy. Usually the Scions are very easy. Scion, Toyota, same thing, but typically they're very, very easy. For some of you who might be a little bit concerned about me using the blue tape, I said in the last video, the adhesion, yes, it's pretty good, but whenever you are spraying with water, it really, really kills the adhesion, so it comes off very, very easily, so I don't really have to worry about it pulling up any paint. Got my coffee over here, got the whole setup. We are actually in the market for a Ford Transit for our first fleet vehicle, which is pretty cool. Pretty excited about that because I really, really want to get a vehicle that I can wrap. Because it's a very, very good form of advertising, because obviously when people are driving around, you know, they can see your advertisement right in front of them, and they're already in the car, so this one's a little tricky. You can see there's kind of this little spot right here where you kind of got to get in there. The little indentations and the protruding pieces can be a pain to deal with, but there are vehicles, for those of you who use power tools, which is perfectly fine, you can't use power tools on ones like these. I mean, you can for obviously the bigger spots, but the spots right here that are a little bit more tricky, you're gonna have to do a little hand sanding and get your hand dirty, or your hands dirty a little bit. So right now my objective is to just remove the oxidation, just that top thin layer. I don't need to go super deep. I don't need to remove a bunch of layers of plastic. Because oxidation, and this is a case-by-case basis when it comes to vehicles, it's not super deep on the headlight. It's usually just on the surface, that thin layer, and we're talking like less than millimeters here. We're talking very, very thin. You can see, well, actually, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but you can see what I'm looking for, like right here. It's still a little bit clear. And then whenever I hit it with the sandpaper, it's got that milky color to it. So this one's pretty good. I could probably go to 600 right now if I really, really wanted to. But just this, for the sake of being more thorough. So this side's good. I'm going to move over to the other side. Okay, I'm using the same sheet. So there are a lot of people in the comment section on a few of my different videos tell me that I'm wasting my time by hand sanding when they've never really hand sanded themselves. Again, everything's kind of relative. I mean, if I was using power tools, I would still be taping this up. And I will finally admit we actually have some power tools on the way. We've been getting a pretty good amount of intact clear coat vehicles lately, and 2K clears actually. It's the season of the 2K clear. And I'm not too happy about it, so we're going to be getting some power tools, some drills, should make life a little bit easier. So here's a good example. You can see right here there's a little bit of, see how it's kind of circling out, there's little dots right there. This is why I spray, so I can see where I need to sand more, because if you are using power tools and it starts to gum up and kind of dust up, once you accumulate a lot of dust, you can't really see how much more you have to sand. This is why sometimes if you are using power tools, you can have some issues after doing the restoration process. You'll start seeing a bunch of scratches, and if you are applying any clear coat, whether it be the Meguiar's or a 2K clear or something like that, and you did not remove all of the oxidation or the scratches, imperfections, whenever you go to spray it, they're going to be very, very visible. So that's why it's very important, very, very important to make sure that you're inspecting while you're sanding. Because restoring headlights, it's two processes. Step one is removing everything, getting down to the raw headlight, and the second step is the restoration process itself, whether it be polishing, applying a clear coat, using the wipes, which I'm not a huge fan of the wipes, because whenever you're using wipes, like if you, let's say you have this whole entire surface area is covered in the chemical, as you're going down like this spot right here is going to have a whole lot more material on it than this spot right here, because you were literally wiping. Like, yeah, you can soak it as much as you want, but as you're wiping, the surface area that's getting covered is not equal. The part where you started is always going to have more than the part that you ended at. Alright, so we are looking good. I'll move on to the 6. Yeah, I know it's messy. This is all leftover headlight, you know, because whenever I sand it, it turns white when you're at the raw headlight. So I'll throw gloves in there, I'll throw paper, all that in there, and that's where it comes from. So expect to clean your car a lot if you're in the business. So a lot of people ask me, how do you know when you're done with the 600? It's more so experience, not just experience, but as you can see, I'm sanding. You'll start to see the water repel from the headlight, meaning the texture of the headlight is so smooth that the water can't stick to it. So that's a good indicator on when you're good to go with the 600. And if you don't see that, just keep sanding. Because the more you sand, the longer you sand with the 600, the more clear it's going to come out. That's like the golden rule. Just keep sanding with the 6 and it'll come out super clear. And I can feel it's getting very, very smooth. It's very easy for me to glide the sandpaper over the headlight. And it's also, you can hear it too. And again, this is things that you'll get with experience. You'll be able to hear the sandpaper going on over the headlight and be able to tell that it's good to go. Alright, so we're good to go. Don't have to, if you're sanding with 400s first, you don't need to sand with the 600 for too long. Because you're already at the raw headlight, you don't need to remove too much. Let me grab some more water. Remove this, so you can see it comes off super easy, very, very easy. So it's not really any issues I have with this tape. I know I said it in the last, I think this was the last video I posted about me lifting some paint from a customer's bumper, but that's why you do your inspections and you're very, very careful whenever you're removing the tape, because it was right here and the tape or the paint was already coming up. The paint was in terrible condition, so even if you are using automotive tape, you're still prone to having issues, because it's all about what the condition is of the paint. If it's old and it's coming apart, you know, you can put anything on there and it'll come off. Another good tip is anytime you have hoods like this that come down, dry this up, because if you are applying the clear coat and the wind comes or something, it'll fall onto the lens. So first thing, well, I'm going to take my gloves off because I don't want to get any water. First thing I am going to do is dry it thoroughly with this one. This is rubbing alcohol. First thing I'm going to do is dry it. See, we're getting that nice milky finish, which is exactly where we want to be. And we're going to alcohol wipe it. Alright, so we are looking good. I'll move on to the 6. Yeah, I know it's messy. This is all leftover headlight, you know, because whenever I sand it, it turns white when you're at the raw headlight. So I'll throw gloves in there, I'll throw paper, all that in there, and that's where it comes from. You expect to clean your car a lot if you're in the business. So a lot of people ask me, how do you know when you're done with the 600? It's more so experience, not just experience, but as you can see, I'm sanding. You'll start to see the water repel from the headlight, meaning the texture of the headlight is so smooth that the water can't stick to it. So that's a good indicator on when you're good to go with the 600. And if you don't see that, just keep sanding. Because the more you sand, the longer you sand with the 600, the more clear it's going to come out. That's like the golden rule. Just keep sanding with the 6 and it'll come out super clear. And I can feel it's getting very, very smooth. It's very easy for me to glide the sandpaper over the headlight. And it's also, you can hear it too. And again, this is things that you'll get with experience. You'll be able to hear the sandpaper going on over the headlight and be able to tell that it's good to go. Alright, so you're good to go. Don't have to, if you're sanding with 400s first, you don't need to sand with the 600 for too long. Because you're already at the raw headlight, you don't need to remove too much. Let me grab some more water. Remove this, so you can see it comes off super easy, very, very easy. So it's not really any issues I have with this tape. I know I said it in the last, I think this was the last video I posted about me lifting some paint from a customer's bumper, but that's why you do your inspections and you're very, very careful whenever you're removing the tape, because it was right here and the tape or the paint was already coming up. The paint was in terrible condition, so even if you are using automotive tape, you're still prone to having issues, because it's all about what the condition is of the paint. If it's old and it's coming apart, you know, you can put anything on there and it'll come off. Another good tip is anytime you have hoods like this that come down, dry this up, because if you are applying the clear coat and the wind comes or something, it'll fall onto the lens. So first thing, well, I'm going to take my gloves off because I don't want to get any water. First thing I am going to do is dry it thoroughly with this one. This is rubbing alcohol. First thing I'm going to do is dry it. See, we're getting that nice milky finish, which is exactly where we want to be. And we're going to alcohol wipe it. This is going to remove any oils, any of that oxidation, any headlight residue that I may not be able to see. Grab my masking paper. Just slip it in like so. You want to try to get in there as deep as you can. And then again, try to get it in between like that. Cue the wind. I said it 1,000 times in the past. There was no wind before I started doing this. You guys see how that works? There was absolutely no wind the whole time I was sanding. And all of a sudden, when it's time to mask things off, it's like a tornado comes in. It's crazy. It's absolutely... I came and I don't even know how to react to it. It's just ironic the fact that I'm filming over here and you guys are seeing no wind at all during the whole process, and then all of a sudden I'm doing this and it's going crazy. Alright, so I'm going to use this, grab a little bit of tape to hold that on, because the last thing you want is to spray and then a gust of wind pulls this down into the freshly sprayed lens. And yes, there's a way to fix that, but if you can avoid any issues, avoid them. So now we got good coverage, complete coverage. Put a spot right here, nothing too crazy. I think I left the can in here. Alright, so the can is somewhat heated. I actually have a little spot in my car that I kept it for the heater. Again, it is cold out, so. And I forgot to mention, anytime it's cold, I actually use warm water, so that kind of warms up the lens, so it's not like super cold. You can see we're all dried up, good to go, using the Next Gen Headlight Solutions clear coat. So send it to a 600. I don't see any dark spots or anything, so we're good to spray. I'm just going to go with the contour of the headlight. If you are still new and learning, you can actually go like this without the can and kind of get a good motion for it. Do a quick test spurt right here, just to make sure it's not spitting. I'm just going to go nice and even. Inspect it, make sure that there's no texturing, which I'll show you what that looks like on that one. So it's still a little bit foggy. You can actually see the flash off right here. It's still a little bit hazy. So that's the solvents in the clear coat starting to evaporate. That happens with every clear coat. It's called the flash off time frame. So just give it a little bit of time and it'll be good to go. Okay, yeah, that's good. Put that right here. Grab our gloves. That means we've been working out for more than 10 minutes. Alright, so last we did the 400 on that other light. So we're going to finish up with the 600. And be good to go. So you can see it's starting to clear up again. We're going to have to hit it with the UV light. There's the wind again. So anytime the wind's going on, I kind of get a little cautious because I don't want the wind to blow that masking paper onto the headlight. And again, whenever I'm sanding, my finger's actually on the corner, so if I were to accidentally come over here, I mean, it physically won't let me because my finger's going to stop it. And again, you got to be kind of reckless if you're sanding a bumper or something like that with your hand. You're kind of being a little reckless there. You got to slow down. So the reason why I didn't hit the light with the UV immediately is because I want it to get that flash off effect to kind of go away for a second. So yeah, I'm not a fan of doing restorations in the cold, that's for sure. I can feel it's just gliding on the lens now, so it's good to go. So now remove the tape, which again is very, very easy. So yeah, you can still see the flash up on there, but it's starting to dry up. Just got to give it some more time. Good to go here. Don't worry, this is actually clean. It just looks dirty. It's stained. I've been using this one for quite some time now. I need to get a new one. There's the sun. Come on, sun, come out for me. So the reason why I go over the whole headlight with this is just to get like the major, like all the big droplets of water, all the major stuff. Because you can see whenever I used it, it actually moved some dirt onto the lens. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you sterilize the lens afterwards. So that side's clearing up more and more. I'm just going to hit it with a dry towel again. And then, so you might be wondering why I didn't use the blower. It actually broke the, well, it didn't break. The charging port is having some issues. And that is actually something that this blower is actually something that I got from a manufacturer because I wanted to start putting them online, because I've noticed that on Amazon these range for like 40-50 bucks, and I feel like we can get those prices down. So I was trying to get them for 30 bucks so we can start selling them online, try to help you guys save some money on these, because as I said, they are pretty expensive. But I put tape on here because I kept losing this. It doesn't fit very well, and the port right here is just not, it's not charging. I probably just have to take it apart and kind of put it on there, because it's just pushed in a little bit, so there's nothing on the back kind of countering it. But that's why I always, if I'm gonna put it online, I want to make sure it's good, high quality. I'm not, I'm gonna run some tests on it, because the last thing I want is to recommend something and end up not being very good. Cue the wind. So yeah, you can still see those stress cracks pretty bad. Still visible, but not like super visible. I don't know for sure how they look on the camera, but they don't look as bad. This happens all the time, guys. And anytime that you are in the business, it's always good to try to do one at a time so that you can save on some of this masking paper, because the masking paper itself, it's not expensive. It's like maybe $6 a roll, but when you're doing 8 or 9 a day, you go through it pretty quickly. So you want to try to minimize your spend as much as you can, even if it is just $6 rolls. So for this one, I'm noticing there's a little bit imperfection stuff on the inside over here on the top. It's kind of hard to see, but the tiny little dots. On this side, I'm going to show you guys what the texturing looks like. So I'm going to kind of skip over a row so you can see what it is I'm talking about when I say texturing. If you're not filling the cracks, so whenever you're sanding, you're making scratches. You're sanding with the 600, they're very small scratches. Use this to fill those scratches. That way you have a very, very thick layer of protection, so the clear coat's embedding itself in the lens. So if you are not filling those scratches well enough, you're going to have the result of texturing, which I'll show you in just a second. Alright. So right here, see how it's kind of textured? If I go over it on the top a little bit, you can see right here it's a little bit textured, but so you're going to look for that area. You're going to look for it all over the headlight just to make sure that that's not, make sure you don't have any texturing. So if you do happen, let's say that I did this headlight and I had some texturing and I left it, and maybe a few months down the road, maybe not a few months, that's probably a little bit too early, but that spot that I missed, that I didn't fill enough, is going to be a weak spot. So that's where the clear coat is going to start deteriorating. So when it comes to headlights, think of it in layers. Like, look at this. You can see right here, it's starting to oxidize over here on the top, and that's just going to start working its way down. If you get a chip or something right here and it breaks the clear coat, it's going to start right there and just go, like, let's say if there's one right here, it's going to go right here, one right here, it's going to go right there. So that's why it's important to make sure that you are completely sealing the lens and you're not having any texturing issues. Alright, so obviously we've still got a lot of cleaning to do. That you can see the flash off, you can see kind of the pattern of where I sprayed that. Again, you got to give some time. Got the UV light here. This thing is super powerful. Turn it on. Alright, so I'm just gonna kind of hit it right here really close. I'm just gonna slowly, you can actually try to move back to where you're getting the whole entire light in one row. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of imperfections over here on the top. That's something that unfortunately you kind of don't know is there until after you finish it. And it's something that you could just tell the customer, I mean, hey, these lights aren't going to look perfect, but they're going to look much, much better. And it's not uncommon to have haziness on the inside. With my experience, I feel like it might be something to do with the engine. Maybe the heat from the engine might cause some issues like that, because I see it on quite a few models. Primarily the Hondas. The Honda Civics always have haze right here on the top, and I think it's something to do with maybe some heat, some sort of reaction with the engine. But oh, and if you are testing, so let's say that I wanted to test this to see that if it's tack free, I'm going to use the back side of my my knuckle and just feel it. Kind of feel if it's a little bit tacky, so you can see the marks from where I just touched, but that'll even out. Give it a little bit of time, but always use the back of your knuckle if you can. I know right here I kind of touched with my thumb, but I don't see any marks on it, so we're just going to get that started. And this side still has a little bit of flash off, so I don't want to harden it just yet, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Got to clean up the bottom. Always want to make sure that you leave the vehicle in better condition than when you left. It's huge for your customer service wise. Because if you've had a vehicle for a really, really long time, and the headlights have looked like that for a really long time, when you restore it, you're kind of bringing a newfound love to the vehicle between the owner and the car itself. So I want it to be as presentable as possible. Alright guys, so that's it. See, we got some micro cracking, or the stress cracks right here in the middle, a little bit of micro cracking over here, and again, the flash off is still drying, but same thing, stress cracks right here. Regardless of the fact, they're going to see much better at night, even with those little micro cracks. So that's it. Thanks for watching.